Hello again and welcome back to my channel, and once again I'm going to be reading articles from the Light paper, a truth paper, November 2020 edition. Link is in the description. So let's go for it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So let's go to full screen mode. Okay, so in the last episode we read this article, Small UK Farms Disappearing. Now, I'm not going to read the next couple of articles, and the reason for that is because of the difficulties in reading certain things on and presenting them on YouTube. So, however, I would highly recommend that if anyone's interested, they go to the link in the description, download the November 2020 edition of the Light paper, where they will be able to read this at their leisure. I will just introduce this article. This is a transcript of the live stream from the press conference in Linz, Austria, with Claire Edwards, after presenting the President of Austria with the notice of liability in Vienna with Stephen Wybrow. The document was drawn up by a group of experts that comprehensively explains what is happening on Earth right now and why. It is also a self-help manual for a situation unprecedented in human history. Claire Edwards is a BA Honours, MA and former United Nations staffer for 18 years. And what this article talks about, if you go to the prior editions of the Light paper, there are some very good articles that give more clarity as well on this topic. So don't just stick with the November paper, go to the prior ones. And yes, you can peruse this at your leisure. So this, as you can see, the title of this next article as well. Again, I won't read it out because this is going onto YouTube. So again, feel free. I recommend that you go and read this article for yourself. So the next article I'm going to read out in full is this one. Colorado care home residents protest against restrictions. This is on page 12. So here we go. Who is this written by? Can't see an author on this one, so I can't say who this was written by. Okay, residents of a long-term nursing and rehabilitation facility in Colorado organised a protest against the state's COVID-19 restrictions on Thursday. According to KCNC TV, the protest took place at Fair Acres Manor in Greeley. The station reported that many of the facility's residents, many of them in wheelchairs, protested outside of the facility and held signs that read, "Rather die from COVID than loneliness. Give us freedom. Prisoners in our own home," and more. In a statement, Ben Gonzalez, assistant administrator at the facility, said that Fair Acres residents are not happy. They want to be able to hug their grandchildren. They want to be able to hold the hands of their loved ones, he said. Resident Council President Sharon Peterson, a 75-year-old woman, told the outlet that she and other residents are desperate for a change. We used to be lucky here at Fair Acres to show each other what we mean to one another, and we cannot do that anymore, Peterson said. Fair Acres follows the rules, and with that we think they would keep us safe while being able to be with our families again. Peterson, who helped to organise the demonstration, said that the protest was necessary because one thing we have to look forward to is a simple hug. It gives us meaning, she said. Fair Acres needs to be commended on how well they have cared for all of us, but it's time for our voices to be heard. Gonzalez said that several staff members joined those at the protest and pledged that the staff wants residents to know that their voice does matter. Gonzalez also said that Fair Acres staff and residents sent letters to the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, as well as Governor Jared Polis's office in August, begging for rules to be relaxed to permit physical contact. Gonzalez said that no one received a response to the inquiries. In response to the protests, police issued a statement. We absolutely understand how difficult it has been for residents of residential care facilities and their families. Policy's office said on Friday, social interaction is essential to physical and mental health, and so we have provided guidance to residential care facilities that allows for the interaction while also keeping residents safe from COVID-19. The statement continued, restrictions have been in place previously, but residents are now able to visit loved ones both indoors and outdoors. In addition, we are doing everything possible to help long-term care facilities mitigate and prevent the spread of COVID-19 by working directly with facilities on proper infection control practices that have been proven. According to the Greeley Tribune, the nursing facility was the site of an outbreak in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. The outbreak was discovered in late March, the outlet reported. From then until mid-May, 16 residents were lab-confirmed positive for COVID-19, with another 24 residents determined to be probable cases, according to CDPHE data. Okay. And the next article I'm going to be reading is this one. In actual fact, I'll read it now on the same video. So, okay. This is by Dr. Rainer Fuhlmich. And it's entitled International Lawyers International Lawyers Prepare Lawsuit Against WHO, the World Health Organization. An international group of lawyers is preparing a massive lawsuit against the World Health Organization that seeks damages for populations negatively impacted by COVID-19 lockdowns, citing crimes against humanity. The attorneys, led by California-based German lawyer Dr. Rainer Fuhlmich, are demanding the public receives full compensation for their losses if they have been harmed by coronavirus lockdown measures. Dr. Fuhlmich explains the case in a lengthy video released on October the 3rd. Under the rules of civil tort law, all those who have been harmed by these PCR test-induced lockdowns are entitled to receive full compensation for their losses, Fuhlmich says. In particular, there is a duty to compensate, i.e. a duty to pay damages for the loss of profits suffered by companies and self-employed persons as a result of a lockdown and other measures. Fuhlmich's team argues that PCR tests, as promoted by the WHO and numerous public health officials, are to blame for the lockdowns. Contrary to assertions by the WHO, German virologist Christian Drosten and Lothar Wieler of the German Robert Koch Institute, roughly equivalent to the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, PCR tests do not give any indication of an infection with any virus, let alone an infection with SARS-CoV-2, Fuhlmich said. Not only are PCR tests expressly not approved for diagnostic purposes, as is correctly noted on leaflets coming with these tests, and as the inventor of the PCR test, Kerry Mullis, has repeatedly emphasized, he continued. Instead, they are simply incapable of diagnosing any disease. Contrary to the assertions of Drosten, Wheeler and the WHO, which they have been making since the proclamation of the pandemic, a positive PCR test result does not mean that an infection is present, Fuhlmich emphasized. If someone tests positive, it does not mean that they are infected with anything, let alone with a contagious SARS-CoV-2 virus. In this context, Fuhlmich referred to a publication of the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that stated, detection of viral RNA may not indicate the presence of infectious virus, or that 2019 nCoV is the causative agent for clinical symptoms. The PCR swabs take 1 or 2 sequences of a molecule that are invisible to the human eye and therefore need to be amplified in many cycles to make it visible, the lawyer explained. Everything over 35 cycles is, as reported by the New York Times and other publications, hold on, let me scroll down, considered completely unreliable and scientifically unjustifiable. In fact, the PCR test used to test for COVID-19 was first developed by Drosten, according to LifeSite News. These tests, as Fulmich said, are set to 45 cycles. Can that be because of a desire to produce as many positive results as possible, and thereby provide the basis for the false assumption that a large number of infections have been detected? The test cannot distinguish inactive and reproductive matter, he continued. That means that a positive result may happen because the test detects, for example, a piece of debris, a fragment of a molecule, which may signal nothing else than that the immune system of the person tested won a battle with the common cold in the past. Even Drosten had recognised this problem in 2014, Fulmich argued, when the virologist said in the context of MERS, another viral respiratory illness, if, for example, such a pathogen scurries over the nasal mucosa of a nurse for a day or so without her getting sick or noticing anything else, then she is suddenly a MERS case. Fulmich summarised, in short, this test cannot detect any infection, contrary to all false claims stating that it can. An infection, a so-called hot infection, requires that the virus, or rather a fragment of a molecule which may be a virus, is not just found somewhere, for example in the throat of a person without causing any damage. That would be a cold infection. Rather, a hot infection requires that the virus penetrates into the cells, replicates there and causes symptoms such as headaches or a sore throat. Only then is a person really infected in the sense of a hot infection, because only then is a person contagious, that is, able to infect others. Until then, it is completely harmless for both the host and all other people that the host comes into contact with. Okay, interesting. Right, so there you go. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for watching and for listening. And guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.